Just a brief glimpse at the history of the Institute of Financial Economics. It was founded in 1983 as the Institute of Money and Banking. It was later renamed the Institute of Financial Economics. All of this was due to the effort of Dr. Maqdisi along with 5 leading banks, Bank Audi, BLF, Blom, Biblos, and Crédit Libanais. What do we do at the Institute? We have a working paper series. You can actually have access to the series on our website. We've also launched this year the symposium series on economic policy. Actually, last Monday was the first lecture. It was entitled Addressing Lebanon's Fiscal Deficit, Economic and Financial Implications. And we have launched the Career Conversation series, and today is our first lecture. This is, as you all know, designed to link students with AUB alumni business leaders. And I'm very happy today and honored to welcome Mr. Fadi Assali to our first session in this series. Fadi was our student at some point. He's currently the chairman and general manager of Cedrus Invest Bank and Cedrus Bank. He is a seasoned banker who has held several senior level positions at local and international banks. He co-founded Cedrus Invest Bank in 2011 and turned it into the largest specialized private investment bank in Lebanon in terms of capitalization. In March 2015, Cedrus Invest Bank expanded to commercial and retail banking through the acquisition of, you all know this bank, the Lebanese, the Standard Chartered Bank. Okay? Cedrus Group composed of Cedrus Invest Bank, which is the investment private banking arm, and Cedrus Bank, the commercial retail banking arm, has emerged as one of the most dynamic and fastest growing banks in Lebanon. As a former director at Barclays Bank, Mr. Assali led a team of private bankers covering the MENA and the Gulf regions, managing a sizable financial portfolio on advisory and discretionary basis. Prior to his work at Barclays, Mr. Assali spent more than 12 years at Bank Audi. He was last a regional manager at Audi Private Bank, where he was also a member of the latter's management and investment committees. In this position, he covered Lebanon, the Levant, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, and worked on integrating Audi Private Bank with other entities of the group after the Audi-Saradar merger. So, very impressed, very impressive biography. So this is going to be like a Q&A session. I'm going to be asking him some questions and he'll respond to that. But before we start, if you have anything to say.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. والله نيالكم you look so fresh as compared to us. نحن جايين بالبدلات etc. نفضلوا نحكي English ولا Arabic?
Up to the attendees, whatever they prefer.
English, okay. So AUB is a special place for me, obviously, because at AUB you don't learn microeconomics, accounting, mathematics, stuff of the sort only. More importantly, you learn leadership, you learn diversity, you learn to think differently. So this is what AUB gave me mostly. And every time I come here, I remember the university days, very special days, very fresh days, where my thinking was shaped, in fact. I advise you to make very good use of these days to interact very well with campus life, because this is what remains when you leave AUB, in fact, basically.
Okay, thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about your early childhood years? Like, where are you from? Which school did you go to?
Yeah, I'm from Beirut, from Ras Beirut, in fact.
Oh, wow.
I went to Louis Wegman, College Louis Wegman, and I graduated from school in 1992. This is when I joined the UB at the economics department.
So the economics and business back then were still under FAS, right?
Yeah, yeah. But economics was a department by its own. Today you are economics students and business students, basically.
Yes, we have, and we have some engineering students as well, because the investment club, many of them are engineers.
Okay.
So, yeah. Did you always know what you wanted to be when you grow up?
I think nobody knows exactly what, at very early age, it's difficult to know exactly what you want to be, but you know that you want to do something out of your life. You want to be successful, you want to have a leadership role. When I was very young, I was more interested in public life, in fact, so I imagined myself having a public role or something of this sort. But then when I grew up, turned more towards the private sector. So it was more imagining that doing something successful at 30 years, 35 years, establishing something by myself, etc.
Okay. How about choosing your major? Was it challenging? Did you at some point change your mind? Did you think about other majors?
Yeah, in fact, at our time, I don't know how it happens now, but at our time, we didn't have really serious orientation sessions, so they didn't take good care of us, telling us, trying to help us decide what we wanted to do, what's best for us, what we like to do, how we can succeed more depending on our personalities, our know-how, etc. So it was left to us to find our way and to decide what to do. So basically, I was interested more in being a lawyer. So I was thinking of doing law studies. But then studying law was in French, and I didn't want to study in French so at university, although I come from a French system. So I decided that the next best for me is to do economics and to focus on economics and business, and this is how it goes. But I was fortunate enough that I liked a lot my major, because it's analytical, a lot of analytics, a lot of thinking, and I used to take a lot of political science courses because I'm interested in the subject. So I was interested in these two fields, and in fact they are interconnected. So basically economics and political science are quite interconnected, so it worked quite well for me. I think nowadays there are more orientation sessions.
Yeah, definitely. We have orientation, we have advisors that always communicate with students, and I guess it's at this high school level they also kind of orient them and advise them more than before.
So who decided on his major by default, so not knowing what you want to do, etc.? Only one? So all of you knew that you wanted to do economics and business? Can't believe that.
Or engineering.
Okay.
Okay. So
it's very important to know if one can know that what he wants to do or she wants to do, and what one likes to do. It's very important, but I think it's difficult to achieve that at early stage.
Right. Yeah. The highlights of your AUB years. What can you tell us about your AUB years? I understand that you were the president of the Economic Student Society at one point.
Yeah. So when I came to AUB, Lebanon was going out of war, basically. It was after war years, so it was good to interact with different. It was an opportunity for us to interact with other parts of the countries. We didn't have that chance at our time when we were young, so it was very interesting for us to start interacting with different other parts of the countries. Coming from a French system also, at AUB I had to, get used to the university style system, to the American system, to start taking care of myself by my own. So, because at French schools you are very well handled. They take care of you. whatever is needed, they provide you with. You come at AUB, so you get to a class whereby you have 50 students. You are used to 15, 20 students, and each teacher knows each one by name, by the details of each person. So you come here, and then you find 50 other persons in your class, and you have to take care of yourself. You have to do it by yourself. So this was a major challenge during my first semester, but it was easily overcome. Then the campus life was extremely interesting because, as I said, it was plenty of diversity, plenty of new friends of different cultures, different social backgrounds, different confessional backgrounds. So it was very enriching, that part of the experience, because I come from a school basically where I used to interact with a certain category of society. So it was very interesting for me to be able to interact with other parts of society. Then the social part at AUB also, which is for me much more interesting than the academic part. We all know about the academic part, how important it is, the academic level that AUB provides the students with. But really the interesting part for me was the social part. So this is why I was very much involved in community work and the student society, economic student society, and it gave me the opportunity to learn how to become a leader, how to make decisions. كل واحد همومه على قده يعني at my age, at my level, but it was very interesting for me to live that experience, and it taught me a lot of things.
Let's talk a little bit about after AUB. So your first job, did you like it? First failure, how did it mark you? First big success?
Okay, so when I did economics at AUB, basically when you graduate from economics or business, at that time, maybe now, first thing you think of is to go to a bank, right? Yeah. Unless you inherit a business from your parents, which was not my case. So yeah. I started working for a bank where I was not really happy. So it was very frustrating the first 6 months of that experience, because all my colleagues were very old-fashioned. The system was very old. So I felt really frustrated, and I was extremely demotivated. But interestingly enough, I got an offer from Bank Audi after 6 months, and then I moved to Bank Audi. Bank Audi at that time, they used to provide students with fresh graduates with a training program, whereby you go to different departments and you learn the real background of banking. So you get to understand things deeply about banking, about how things are done in banking, etc. So I did a 1.5 year rotation, which gave me the opportunity to understand banking very well. Then I moved to what I like to do a lot, to the trading room. So I became a fixed income trader, fixed income bond trader. So I became a bond trader, and this is very interesting, very challenging job. So I used to take care of a book of bonds on behalf of the banks. I was in charge of that book, and I used to trade these bonds. Things started to become very challenging, very interesting. You know, you buy, you sell, you are involved in making every day's decision at an early stage, and I did very well. So I started taking more responsibilities in the capital markets division, and then I moved to private banking at the bank. Private banking is the area where you take care of people's money. High net worth individuals, they come and invest with you portfolios. So private bankers, they build portfolios, they manage these portfolios on behalf of wealthy clients. Then I started taking more and more responsibilities until the time where the bank decided, and this is where we get to the failure part. The bank decided to establish a company in Saudi Arabia, and I was involved in establishing this company with my partner, and we were supposed to take certain responsibilities within that company, but again, the CEO at the time of the company convinced the senior management in Lebanon that we are still very young, and it's too early for us to hold that responsibility. So they started changing their mind about giving us that responsibility. It was very frustrating. So don't let anybody make the age a hurdle in front of you, basically.
Okay. Is there any?
So instead of them seeing it as an opportunity, as something positive for young people to achieve a lot at early age and then give more responsibility, it was a hurdle. And this is something, if you are successful at an early age in our part of the world, you might face a lot, because people judge you sometimes not by your achievements but by your age, basically.
Right. Yeah. So I guess your hugest success is founding Cedrus at the age of 38. So you were pretty young when you founded the bank.
Yeah, it was 37 in fact. But
37. Got the facts wrong.
So we.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. We after I left Bank Audi, I joined Barclays Bank. Barclays is a national institution. So we left Bank Audi, my partner and I. Then we were in charge of a team of bankers at Barclays, getting portfolios for Arab clients, Lebanese clients, taking care of them, managing these portfolios, etc.
Can we? Oh.
Barclays is an international bank. It's an English bank, in fact. And it's based in UK, in Switzerland, in different places. I was working for Barclays Dubai, okay? Working for Barclays Dubai, but working for Switzerland, out of Barclays Dubai. So basically, at that time, and then the financial crisis of 2008 and 9 happened. I don't know if you know about what happened in 2008 and 9 in terms of financial crisis. So we started thinking that, and it was just a thought that came to us one evening, that why not establishing our own bank? So it was like a crazy idea to start with. We didn't have the capital, obviously, basically, and we didn't have the structure. So we started thinking more and more about it. And then the idea for us was to try to buy an existing bank in Lebanon. And we talked to some of our clients, so the clients for whom we used to manage the portfolios and wealth. We talked to them because they trusted us through all these years. They trusted us with their money, and we did well for them. So we started talking to them about the idea of pooling together, them as investors, us as managers, and to start a bank in Lebanon. And interestingly enough, most of them, they were convinced, and they liked the idea. So we gathered investors' interests. We gathered investor interest from all these people. We gathered capital, basically, and we tried to buy a bank in Lebanon. But it did not work out because this bank sold to another party. Then we talked to the Central Bank of Lebanon to establish a specialized bank, an investment bank in Lebanon. And after 2 years of trying, because it did not succeed from first time, after 2 years of trying, we were able to get the license to start Cedrus Invest Bank. Then that was in 2011. And the bank started in 2012, and it was an investment bank / private bank. So we used to do investment banking, capital markets activities. I don't know how much you are familiar with these concepts. Trading, wealth management, managing people's money, etc. Then in 2015, we bought a commercial bank that was an international commercial bank that was operating in Lebanon, which was Standard Chartered. Also, Standard Chartered is an English bank. So we bought Standard Chartered, and we ended up owning two banks, Cedrus Bank and Cedrus Invest Bank, where we provide all banking services to our clients, basically.
So,
So it was a challenging, they were challenging times to be able, first of all, to gather the money to establish the bank, to gather the investors, to put the structure in place, to convince the regulator, which is the Central Bank of Lebanon, etc.
okay. So you talked a little bit about how your networking and PR helped you achieve what you did. In your opinion and from your experience, do real friendship and business mix?
Why are you asking me this question?
Maybe you want to highlight something.
Okay, maybe you are trying to talk about my relationship with Raed.
Partner, yeah.
Basically. So we met at AUB, basically, and this is one of the best investments I made at AUB, basically. So I was able to build a lot of friendship, but this one was special because it turned out to be also a business partnership. And I encourage you at this time also to forge these kinds of relationships, because this is another part of university life that remains. He started working somewhere, I started working somewhere else, and then we decided that we wanted to do something together. So he joined the bank at a certain time. He joined the bank that I used to work with, and we formed a team from that time. That was maybe in 2001. So we worked together as a team. Then we moved together to Barclays. Then we established this venture together. He's calling me now. It's not easy to have a real friendship together with a partnership. It boils down to trust, a lot of trust. It boils down to a lot of communication, because you need to communicate a lot with your partner, who is also at the same time your friend, to sort out things, misunderstandings, etc. You need to be very open about it, basically, to sort it out. And you need to forge this trust relationship through time. And if you do it well, it works out. It's not easy at all, because you have two characters, two decision makers. Each time when you make a decision, if one of the two parties is not okay with the decision, then you need to negotiate it together. You need to find a common ground. But if you succeed in doing it, you are much stronger, because I believe that working on your own is one thing, but working with a strong team is a different thing. It's much more powerful.
Right. So yeah, it's a nice example.
And we met at the AUB campus during our first year, before starting our first semester, in fact.
Oh, nice. So you started together the same year?
1992.
Okay, nice. Okay, so I'm sure many of the students here dream of one day becoming founding a bank and becoming.
They can found something else.
Well, to be in your shoes, let's say. Maybe some of them would like to be in your shoes. Can you tell us what a typical day looks like? What you like about your job? What you don't like?
Since I'm in charge of a commercial bank and an investment bank, so during one day I end up making decisions about different things. So about a commercial loan, you need to grant a commercial loan, then about an interest rate on deposit, or about making an investment in a real estate project in some European cities. So one typical day, all these decisions, I have to make all these kinds of decisions. What I don't like is when my team makes me go into some level of details that I'd like to delegate to them. So I don't like, and this is a message I'm conveying also to them. So I don't like to get involved in some level of superficial details, not superficial details, but basic details that I'm better off delegating to somebody else and instead focusing on more strategic stuff. So this is what I don't like. But a typical day is, making decisions from, as I told you, a complicated investment structure to a commercial loan to investing the funds of the bank in bonds, treasury bills, etc.
So we understand you're not a micromanager. Like you'd rather build a good team.
They might tell you I am.
A good team and delegate, right?
They might tell you I am, but I'd like to think of myself that I'm not.
Okay. Can you describe the culture at Cedrius? Like, it seems that we
maybe
have
I should go
young
out
people.
and let them speak of me.
Maybe. Who would you like? Who would you select? How's the culture? Like for someone, for example, who's joining the bank, what do you expect?
The culture is young. This is very important. So we have a young culture. The workforce is on average younger than the workforce in a different bank. It starts with the senior management. I'm the chairman of the bank. I'm 43 years old. So I'm the youngest chairman in Lebanon that did not inherit a bank from his parents,
wow.
right? So, and it goes down to all the positions at the bank. So we have a very young workforce. This reflects in the ideas and the way we do things. We are very proactive. We try to be very proactive in doing things differently, be it in the technology part or being in the business part. So how we tackle business issues. We try to be innovative and to come up with new ideas all the time.
Okay. So something of interest to most attendees here, what are entry-level positions for students holding a BA in business versus economics or a master's degree in business versus economics?
Okay, so basically we look at AUB very highly to start with, and the AUB students very highly. Not only because I come from AUB, because it deserves to be looked at very highly. Then we have a program for newcomers, for fresh graduates who come to the bank, who enter the bank at an entry level, whereby they get a rotation, maybe a 6-month rotation program, whereby they come to discover the whole departments of the bank. This is, as I said when I started, very important because it helps you link different activities of the bank together. So if you are, let's say, in the lending department, what are the consequences of this decision in different other places of the bank? So, or if you make a simple thing as a transfer, what are the things that come after and beyond this transfer? So it's very important when you work at a bank to understand the banking world in a more global way. It helps you, in the future, think more globally, interact with problems differently when they come out, because you understand the background of things. It's very important to understand the background of things in order to be able to deal with the complexities when they come out in the future. So they start by a rotation program, sitting in the different departments. Then through this rotation program, they also discover what they like to do most, because also in banking you have different areas. You have the operations side, the back office side, you have the front side, you have the branches, you have the lending department, you have the finance and accounting, you have the investment part. So when you do this rotation, you understand more what you like to do. And the bank, the people you are working with, also can help you. They can understand also what you do better, and they can direct you towards that. So this is very important. Then, depending on the personality, depending on the feedback, we direct them either to operations or to branches or to the lending part or to the investment.
So, in your opinion, what makes a person memorable? Like, what are characteristics that would give a really positive impact? Let's say you're interviewing someone for a job.
I'll start if I'm working with somebody. So for me, commitment and being able to deliver, basically. So getting a project, handling a project, and getting it to delivery with a little interference from more senior management. So being able to handle a project and deliver it promptly and rightly, this is for me a very differentiating factor in people.
Perseverance and commitment.
Perseverance, commitment, follow-up, and being able to deliver a project when you handle a certain project. Now, in the interview, basically, it's character, right? It's personality. But I don't think you can, from one interview, you can really know about people profoundly. You need to work with them. But it's the how determined the person is in an interview and character. Not, especially for fresh graduates, it's not important how much technically they know, because they are not expected to know a lot of technicalities, but how much determined and knowing what they want to do. Not in the sense that I want to work in the, for example, the trade finance department, but knowing what they want to achieve in terms of success, in terms of achievements, etc.
How many employees are we talking about in total?
Sure, yeah, Jackie, come on.
In total, around 200.
Oh,
200 employees.
And how many, on average, do you recruit every year?
Now we are recruiting because the bank is in a growth stage. We are opening new branches in new areas, etc. Because our bank was small and it's growing, basically. So we are recruiting. Depends.
Like last year, more than 40 to 50 employees we hired.
Oh, wow. What do you think are habits of successful people? Like, what are good habits to have?
I am a concerned person. شو بقولوا بيعطي الهم كثير.
Like you worry about
Yeah.
things.
Anxious. I'm an anxious person.
Anxious?
Very anxious. So maybe this is one factor. For others, maybe something else. But being smart, being anxious, being determined, and follow up. You need to follow up on your issues, on your projects, on what you are doing, because follow up is a major step to success. You cannot achieve something without proper follow-up.
Okay, do you have any closing statements, words, anything you'd like to tell the audience?
As I told you, I learned a lot at AUB days, and it was the part of my life that prepared me, to work experience, gave me a lot of leadership training in leadership issues and social issues, and accepting diversity, and being able to understand that to be able to succeed, you need to put yourself in the other people's shoes to understand how they think, what they want to do, what they want to achieve. So this is very important when you are also negotiating, let's say, a business deal, business transaction, you need to be able to put yourself not in yourself's shoes, but in other people's shoes, to understand what they want to achieve, what they want to do. And in that way, maybe you can come up with ways to get what you want and let them get what they want also. Because you cannot get what you want without getting your counterparties get what they want. So at AUB, I learned a lot of that, and it's very important that you make use of this rich campus life to, get trained to these things. On a different note, I encourage you to talk to us for training programs, for stuff of this sort, because as I said, we are interested in young people, we are interested in UB per se. And I encourage you to be patient, basically. So when you start working, you might be faced with administrative tasks, with stuff that you might find, I didn't go to university to do this and that, etc. But you have to go through all this in order to, learn and achieve more and get to a different stage afterwards.
I must mention here that actually last year, Cedric Bank offered an internship to any of our graduate students who were looking for an internship. So masters in economics students, anyone who was looking for an internship, they were able to get one at Cedric, and so thank you for that. It was really great. So I guess now we can take some questions from the students. If anyone has any question, they would like to know more about the chairperson, the bank, anything that you have on your mind. Please state your name and your major. Sorry, just a second. I'll get the microphone.
Pierre, shukran lo. I have a question. What's the worst barrier to entry when you want to create the bank? And what's the worst experience in creating the bank? The relationship with the government, everything, yeah.
Yeah, it's first you need the regulator, i.e. the central bank, to take you seriously, because you are a newcomer and they need to take you seriously. This is a challenge. Second challenge, you need the market in general, your competitors, to take you seriously. So especially when you are young, as I said, in our part of the world, they look at your age. So it doesn't matter if you are young and you inherit a bank, you are legitimate. But if you come from outside the circle, it's not acceptable at first for you to establish something new and start something new. So they start saying that there are a bunch of kids, what they are doing, they will fail, etc. So it's very challenging to establish the trust with the market. So this is the most challenging part. So for the market to start taking you seriously, you need to prove a lot of things, especially in Lebanon, especially if you are a newcomer, especially if you don't come from the families that own banks, and especially if you are young.
Other questions? Can you please pass the
Thanks.
microphone? We have a question here. Please, your name and major.
My name is Talal Mukaddim, and I'm a business finance major. I was wondering, August and September are usually the worst months for stocks, and this has been one of the longest streaks for the S&P, as it's continually rising, reaching new highs. And how likely, and also furthermore on top of that, it's almost the longest streak without a correction since 1970. So how big do you think of a correction there will be, especially with the increase in passive funding indexes?
I'll tell you what I think. After the new elections in the US, there was a pro-business move, and President Trump started talking about investing in infrastructure and all this, so it has helped the stock market. So it started going up because of that. Now, most probably, what we advise our investors is to be very selective, because the market is now a little expensive. So you have to be really selective in the stocks you to the sectors you choose to invest in. Because there are still some sectors that are interesting, others that are less. But the market in general, as you said, is becoming more expensive. And most probably we'll see a correction sometime soon. I cannot tell you how the magnitude will be and when, but obviously the market went up a lot, and so investors should be very much more selective about the sectors they invest in and the timing. Now, if you need to know more than that, you have to come and pay commissions.
But do you believe that the passive investments actually makes it worse? Like the crash would be even bigger now because of
the what?
Passive investments in index funds.
بالعكس, I think passive investments is make things more هيك, less volatile with time. Because if you see that people who invested in stable indices and you take it for a very long period of time, they end up doing better than most investors that are involved in very actively in stock selection and stuff of this sort. So it stabilizes more than anything else.
Other questions? Can you please pass them the microphone?
Hello, my name is Kamil Wehbe. I'm an economics major. A lot of economics students are reluctant about their major due to its practicality. They say that finance, for example, is more applicable and more practical in the job market. So I have a two-part question. First of all, you being an economics major who went into the corporate world can, to an extent, prove that wrong. And second of all, you were the president of the Economic Society in AUB in 1994, I believe. So I wanted to see to what extent your role in extracurricular life helped you reach the success you're at this point.
Okay. Listen, economics is a major where you learn to be analytical, basically, right? And you are exposed to different subjects. You are exposed to finance issues, you are exposed to accounting, to a lot of things, but I think it's a major that helps you broaden your mind. Now, the major disadvantage, you are a senior year student?
I'm a sophomore.
Sophomore, okay. So ما بدنا نشجعه يغير. The only disadvantage, I think, in economics is that it's a tougher major. So sorry للباقيين بس إنه it's a tougher major, and you end up getting lower grades basically. This is the disadvantage. I don't know if it's still like that.
Math 201, people cry on a daily basis.
لا, but حتى the economics courses themselves, they are tougher. So this is the disadvantage, but the big advantage that it broadens your mind. Then what you make out of your life depends on you, not on the major you do. I used to work with an international institution, and a lot of the senior people were history majors. So it doesn't really matter. It's about what you do, how you train yourself to do things, how you expose yourself. So, or philosophy major. So it really doesn't matter. Now, being the president of the Economic Student Society was a very enriching experience for me, as I told you, because it taught me how to make decisions, how to deal with my friends and members of the society, how to attract them to become members of the society, to participate in the events. Like الواحد يعني همه على قده بس. At that time, these were important things for me, and it taught me how to deal with it, how to convince them to come, to participate, etc. So it helped me shape my character a lot, and my communication skills.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Megan Tribble. I'm a graduate student in history, actually, so I'm a bit more familiar with 19th century banking. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I was hoping you could comment on the linguistic and cultural skill requirements, sort of what, one at CEDRS specifically, but also overall in the banking industry in the MENA region.
So I understand you don't speak Arabic.
No. عربي بس not my first language, no. But specifically on sort of communicating client relationships, bringing in new business, managing your networks. What are the, for example, when you were in Dubai, did you have to sort of make cultural adjustments from coming from Beirut and then working with Europeans or Americans or Chinese, for example? What are the language and cultural skills that you need on a daily basis and that the industry requires as well?
Yeah.
Thanks.
You know, being Lebanese are multicultural, in fact, so going from Beirut to Dubai didn't make a lot of difference for me, so I didn't need to accommodate. But to answer your first question, English is becoming the business language, basically, right, of all major institutions, areas, etc. So, especially in Lebanon, if you speak good English, it's good, it's enough. Now, you need to understand Arabic and be able to read Arabic because you deal with some stakeholders like the regulator, the government, some clients that do not speak English, which are much and more less. But it's important to understand and be able to read some Arabic. But I think English is the most important. It's becoming the most important language. So in a bank, you need to understand, to speak well, understand well English, and basically to be able to read some Arabic.
Good evening. My name is Sergio Fadi. I'm an econ major. And my question is, what is it like to be a 20-something working at Bank OG and starting your career at Bank OG? What are the expectations that your superiors are waiting from you when you work at such a huge bank? What are the challenges?
So they basically expect you to when they give you a certain task to do, the highest expectation is for you to be able to complete it. So you need to be able to deliver, as I told you. Now, you might not be technically well prepared, so it doesn't matter if you ask about some technicalities, about how to do things, but most importantly, and I used to ask a lot, so it's not something negative to ask, but what is not good is for you to take the initiative while not knowing what you are doing and what you want to do and what's the outcome expected from you, then to reach a bad outcome. So basically, people expect from you to deliver promptly and rightly on a certain task. And if you don't understand what's required from you or the technicality of things, you are expected to ask. So ask a lot of things, a lot of questions, but make sure you understand well what is required from you and what technically you need to know and do in order to achieve what is required from you.
Hi, how are you? My name is Rami Boumatar. I'm an industrial engineering student. My question is, what do you think of the Lebanese stock market? Can we empower it and نشغل البلد يعني, in your opinion?
The stock market is a very important tool to attract capital, right? So the problem in Lebanon is that, I don't want to complicate it a lot, but the problem in Lebanon is that the macro situation, geopolitical situation in the country and around us did not help us through the years build a strong stock market. And the experience of investors in the stocks and some of the stocks that were listed on the Beirut Stock Exchange were not that encouraging. Now, the government, the central bank, everybody, we are trying to build a new experience around that. We are trying to build a new platform for the stock exchange, digital platform, to list new things on the stock exchange, to create the liquidity and being able to buy and sell actively a certain stock. Because today one of the major problems of the stock exchange is that you cannot buy and sell quantities of a certain stock. So it's important also in a certain stock exchange to be able to trade actively. So all that effort is being made to make the stock exchange more active. But the stock exchange in general and in Lebanon and going forward, because now the government has a plan to invest a lot in infrastructure in the country, the stock exchange itself is a very important tool to attract capital and funds. So we need in Lebanon to re-establish trust and investing in the stock exchange, creating liquidity, modernizing the law, etc. And this is an effort that's being done now.
Okay, hi, Talal Qabbani, economics major. So I'm currently taking a Middle Eastern class on economics. So we learn about the Lebanese economy and how it's reliant on the Lebanese diaspora capital inflow. We also learned that in 2016, these capital inflows have decreased. So how are you dealing with this challenge?
What's the course? What do they teach you on the course?
It's basically like topics in Middle Eastern economics.
Like which countries?
Lebanon mainly. Yeah. We're taking it with Dr. Mazen Swade.
Yeah. Mazen was my promotion at the UV.
He's going to be a speaker for our next economic symposium series on economic policy.
Yeah.
Everyone will be.
I defeated him in the election of the society. Hello, like Fadi. لا بس Mazen is a very good. I think he's a very good teacher. He conveys the message well, right?
Yes.
Yes, in fact, the Lebanese economy is very dependent on its diaspora. The diaspora is an enriching factor for our economy. We have much more Lebanese living outside Lebanon than living inside Lebanon. And they participate a lot in financing our budget deficit and financing the needs of our economy. شو كان السؤال? How I deal with what?
So in 2016, due to oil changes and others, the capital inflows decreased. So how are you dealing with this challenge?
The flow of funds to Lebanon from expats, as you say, decreased a lot in 2016 and starting mid 2015 going onward, and that was due to oil prices declining because most of Lebanese expats, the ones who produce a lot of funds and transfer to Lebanon, they live in oil producing countries like the Gulf countries, oil producing countries in Africa. So and add to it the geopolitical situation in Lebanon and around us, all put together, so these inflows started decreasing. Now, how are we dealing with that? Sometimes you need to make much more effort to convince them to transfer more funds to Lebanon. Sometimes you need to pay higher interest rates. But all put together, this is a challenge that is not easy to deal with because, and this is why the deposits in the banking sector are not increasing as fast as they were increasing previously. So we try to deal with it by sometimes paying higher interest rates, sometimes doubling the effort you make, coming up with more interesting ideas for them to invest in or participate in. But at the end of the day, it's affecting the growth of deposits in the banking sector.
Hello and
Hi.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity of being here. And
Thank you for coming.
Oh, my name is Aya Al-Safadi. I'm a finance major in my senior year, and I wanted to ask you,
Because now you have finance major other than, it's not business.
it is business with a concentration in finance.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, my question to you is, how did Basel III's increase of minimum capital requirement and minimum leverage requirements affect Cedrus Bank?
For Cedrus Bank, it did not affect Cedrus Bank because we have a very big equity capital. We have $320 million of equity and a relatively small balance sheet compared to our equity. So I have a 1.1 billion total assets, as Fadi can to get technical. So we have a big capital compared to our total assets. So we have a very high capital adequacy ratio. The highest in Lebanon, basically. But if you ask me how it's affecting the banking sector in general, it's putting more, constraints in terms of ability to generate income, because it leaves you with less room to grow your balance sheet. So it puts like a buffer on how much you can grow your balance sheet, which puts a buffer on how much you can make money, basically, right? But for us, we don't face yet this problem because we have a very big equity and we're still growing. We didn't reach the stage whereby we have used all our potential equity in terms of growth.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess one more question and we're done.
Hello, thank you for the lecture. My name is Razan Amin. I'm a senior economics student. So my question is, knowing that now in Lebanon we are in maybe ranked 4th in public debt, and we are in the 7th year of a recession, so our growth dropped from like 8% to 1.5 currently, and knowing that every field has its own role in uplifting Lebanon from this recession. So in your opinion as a banker, what do you think is the role of banking in uplifting Lebanon from this locked-in situation? Because if we look at it, we have like basically 3 theoretical solutions. We either can reduce our expenditure, which is impossible, or increase our revenues by taxation, which is also impossible, or increasing our growth, but because we have very little fiscal space, we can't do so. So in such a locked-in situation, what is the role of banking in uplifting Lebanon from its 7th year recession? Thank you.
Thank you. So basically, the only way for us to get out of our economic issues and public debt and all these challenges that we face is to increase our economic growth. And this is what is being focused on now. If we want to enhance economic growth, you need to have projects, you need to invest in the economy. And basically the government does not have the means to invest a lot in the economy. So it's now the eyes are on the private sector to invest more on the economy. And here the banking sector plays an important major role, because it's the banking sector which finances the private sector or part of the private sector investments in the economy. So this is where the role of banking is very important. Now, this is having been said, the banking sector in Lebanon has lent, or the level of lending of the sector in Lebanon to the private sector is equal to the GDP level. So already the banking sector is playing the role of financing the economy, because they have already lent like $50 billion, the total lending to the private sector, and the GDP of the country is around 50 plus or minus $billion. So the banking sector has already lent an amount equivalent to the GDP. So it's playing an important role in financing but now with all the projects coming in the infrastructure and in other areas to enhance economic growth, the banking sector will play an important role in helping finance that. And more importantly, maybe investment banks should start playing a more active role in bringing in, capital from outside the country, institutional capital from outside the country, etc. Because we cannot rely anymore on the resources, the local resources. We have to start thinking about how we can attract, international investors, how we can attract Lebanese living abroad with very big capabilities to invest in the economy. And here comes the role also not only of commercial banks, but of investment banks, in coming up with structures, ways to help to help interested investors participate in these projects that are coming up.
One more question, if we want to get down from 11 students. Go ahead.
Economics.
Hi, my name is Ajinoor Alamuddin. I'm a business finance student. With the rise of cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoins and Ethereum, you as a bank, what do you think about the future of these currencies, and how are the banks preparing for this digital transformation, and what is your own point of view about this? Thank you.
Frankly speaking, I think we're still very far from seeing really a huge impact of these currencies on the way we do business, the way we interact, the way we do banking, especially in Lebanon, but not only in Lebanon, worldwide. We're still very, very far from that. I don't know where it could be going, because currency is based on trust, it's based on history, it's based on the strength of the currency. Like the US dollar, it has a long history of existing, of being a major way to people deal with each other, etc. So to have a new currency, a new way of exchanging, to put trust into that, it's a very long-term and difficult process.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We can hang around a little bit, have some coffee, tea, and pastries. And thank you for the.
By the way, I'm very happy to. Sorry to interrupt. I'm very happy to listen to you and to see how informed you are, how knowledgeable you are. And I'm not saying that just to say it. I really mean it. And lately, I've been a little frustrated from many things around me. But today you helped me, get rid of part of this frustration. So thank you.